Hello. Okay, so Act 4, Scene 2. Now we're going to actually transition. We're going to see what Brutus and Cassius are up to. So now we have moved our location. We are at a camp, so this would be like an army camp near Sardis. So we're heading toward war. And we're actually going to start out with Brutus and the people he's amassing around him. At the beginning of this scene, there are drum beats. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's an army, and the army is setting up. Okay, so Act 4, Scene 2, page 885.
Stand ho! Give the word, ho, and stand.
What now, Lucilius? Is Cassius near?
He is at hand, and Pindarus has come to do you salutation from his master.
He greets me well. Your master, Pindarus, in his own change or by ill officers, hath given me some worthy cause to wish things done undone. But if he be at hand, I shall be satisfied.
I do not doubt but that my noble master will appear such as he is, full of regard and honor.
He is not doubted. A word, Lucilius. How he received you. Let me be resolved.
With courtesy and with respect enough, but not with such familiar instances, nor with such free and friendly conference as he hath used of old.
Thou hast described a hot friend cooling. Ever note, Lucilius, when love begins to sicken and decay, it useth an enforced ceremony. There are no tricks in plain and simple faith, but hollow men, like horses, hot at hand, make gallant show and promise of their mettle. But when they should endure the bloody spur, they fall their crests, and like deceitful jades sink in the trial.
Okay, I'm going to pause it just for a second. I want to explain a little bit about what's happening here. So we have this scene at the army camp, and everything's real busy, people coming and going, and Lucilius says Pindarus is here. And Pindarus says, Brutus asks Pindarus, he says, your master, Pindarus, is his own change, or by ill officers hath given me some worthy cause to wish things done undone. So, but if he be at hand, I shall be satisfied. So Brutus is talking about Cassius. Pindarus' master is Cassius. Something has happened. Cassius has done something that is Brutus wishes to be undone. And so, and he wants, since Cassius is here, he's like, oh, well, then we can talk about it. And Pindarus says, I do not doubt, but that my noble master will appear such as he is, full of regard and honor for Brutus. Honor and regard for Brutus. Brutus says, he is not doubted. A word, Lucilius. Lucilius is Brutus's servant. He says, how were you received by Cassius? Lucilius says, well, I was received with courtesy and respect enough, but not with such familiar instances, nor with such free and friendly conference as he hath used of old. Okay, so Cassius and Brutus, there seems to be a little bit of a rift happening between the two of them right now. We don't know what it is. We don't know what's causing it, we the reader. But Lucilius is saying he went and talked to Cassius, and Cassius was cool toward him. Have you ever had, you have a friend, you guys talk, you hang out, you converse, everything's cool, and then at some point you are talking to your friend. Maybe they walk up to the locker, maybe you see them in passing, maybe you see them at the store, or you see them at a game or something, and you're like, hey, what's up? And you're expecting kind of your normal previous way of interacting to be what happens, and they're cool toward you. Like previously they would have been like, hey, what's going on? Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. And like now they're like, sup? I know I play teenagers very well. You're welcome for that. But honestly, they're cool toward you, right? They let you know with their tone, with their facial features, that something's happened that's created a distance, right? And you're like, whoa, what'd I do? I don't. for usually whenever it happens to me, like I'm completely clueless. And this is something that just can happen all the time. We as human beings, we're not great at communicating. Most problems in life. I had one of my seniors who's reading a different Shakespeare play who said, pretty much every single problem that happens in every single Shakespeare play could be dealt with the use of good communication skills, for sure. And I would say a lot of problems in life, maybe most, could again be solved with good communication skills. We create our own problems because we're bad at communicating. We're not bad at talking. That's not what I'm saying. We're bad at communicating. If you have a problem with somebody, go to them and be like, yo, I heard you said such and such about me, and that was annoying, and I didn't like that. What? And let them kind of explain themselves or whatever, And because we avoid conflict, we avoid confrontation, so sometimes things sit between us and our friends for like minutes, hours, weeks, days, weeks. And, it just builds. And suddenly what was just like a little bit of a misunderstanding is now a huge looming change in a relationship because we didn't communicate well. Maybe we were waiting for the other person to come to us and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, dude, what did I do? And that doesn't happen because everybody kind of sees it from their own angle, right? So, man, this is a problem. So Brutus is like, what is happening? And Lucilius says, hey, Cassius is cooled off toward you. Brutus says, oh my gosh, you've described a hot friend cooling off. When love begins to sicken and decay, it useth and enforceth ceremony. So whenever your relationship with someone is decaying in some way, it gets fancier, more polite, more official. So somebody that you used to be like really great friends with, if you see them a year later and you haven't really talked to them, you're no longer good friends. Once upon a time you were. You hung out at their house, they hung out at your house, like your parents knew each other, like it was all great. And now you're cooled off. Now when you see them, you're not going to be like, hey, what's up? Hey. You're going to be like, hello, how are you? I am doing well. Thank you. Like you're going to be formal. It's going to be weird, right? Okay. So he says, there are no tricks in plain and simple faith, but hollow men, insincere men, fake men, like horses hot at hand, make gallant show and promise of their mettle. But when they should endure the bloody spur, they fall their crests, and like deceitful jades sink in the trial. So Cassius is fake, and he's not somebody to rely on. Uh-oh, trouble in paradise, it seems.
Comes his army on.
They mean this knight in Sardis to be quartered. The greater part, the horse in general, are come with Cassius.
Okay, so Cassius and his
he's
group
arrived.
come in.
March gently on to meet him.
Stand ho!
Stand ho! Speak the word along.
Stand! Most noble brother, you have done me wrong.
Judge me, ye gods. Wrong I mine enemies, and if not so, how should I wrong a brother?
Brutus, this sober form of yours hides wrongs, and when you do them...
Cassius, be content. Speak your griefs softly. I do know you well. Before the eyes of both our armies here, which should perceive nothing but love from us, let us not wrangle. Bid them move away. Then, in my tent, Cassius, enlarge your griefs, and I will give you audience.
Pindarus, bid our commanders lead their charges off a little from this ground.
Lucius, do you the like, and let no man come to our tent till we have done our conference. Let Lucilius and Titinius guard our door.
Okay, so Cassius comes in, he jumps off his horse, and he's like, most noble brother, you have done me wrong, and Brutus is like, what? I wouldn't do you. I wrong enemies, not my brother. So he's kind of trying to appease him, right? And then Cassius is like, Brutus, this sober form of yours hides wrongs, and when you do them... And Brutus is like, Cassius, we're in public. Why don't we handle this in my tent? You can shout as loudly as you want in there in private. But in public, in front of all of our troops that are marching on, Antony and Octavius at our order, and they probably need to see us as a united front, not two people having a problem. Let's handle this privately. Man, that's interesting. So think of the difference between public and private. How do you feel whenever whenever mom or dad maybe are telling you that you've messed up in an area, but they're telling you at your house, maybe in your room. They've come to the doorway, they're like, hey, when you did the dishes today, you did terribly, so you need to up your game. That's an entirely different scenario than if in the middle of you have friends over, you're playing video games, and they come down and, and they're right there in front of your friends, and they're like, what are you doing? The dishes are awful. What did you do? You might be like, what in the world is happening? Look, friends, there are people here. Can we do this later? Because it's public. The other people make it a public situation. Think if mom or dad yell at you in a public place. You're out and about, you're at a game, or you're at, walking, in the park or something, or someplace where other people are, and they come and they yell at you. It's shaming in some way, isn't it? Because you're handling a private matter publicly. And we all have pride. And so that's a bit of a difficult situation, and one that really kind of makes you a bit defensive, because you want them to stop doing that. Well, this is like that. Cassius is so ticked off, he's just ready to shout Brutus down right now, jumping off his horse, shouting at him. And Brutus is like, yo, buddy, we got to handle this privately, because it's not good for everybody to see us fighting. He has a solid point. So they're going to go into his tent, and they're going to talk out what's going on. We know that Cassius is ticked at Brutus. Brutus feels like Cassius is fake and a little cold toward him. So, oh no, it looks like we have some issues going on between these two people who conspired together with a group of other men to kill Caesar and to get him out of a position to be the king of Rome. So interesting that they're having problems now. I wonder what's creating that. Okay, that is the end of Act 4, Scene 2.